Shalom friends, welcome back to the channel Healthy in Heart, where I hope you are healthy in heart, mind, body, and soul today. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found me. This is my week 12 Moonjaro update. I just finished my 12th week and I took my 13th injection this morning. So today I've got a full update for you, my progress, my struggles, my blood sugar numbers, and some frustrating news about my compounded Tirzepatide, so be sure to stick around. I know a lot of people come to YouTube looking for big dramatic weight loss success stories, and those can be really inspiring, and I love those too. But I also want to create a space for the rest of us. There are so many people out there who are quietly struggling just like I am. We're doing the work, making the changes, staying consistent, and still not seeing the results we're hoped for. At least not yet. And that's real. That's valid. Your journey matters, even if it doesn't look like a before and after photo. So let's start with a quick summary. Unfortunately, my weekly weight average has gone up again. I'm now half a pound higher than when I started taking Tirzepatide. But there's more to it than just the number, so let's dive in. Starting with the weight update, this week's average was I take my weight on an average of the weigh-in of my morning weight every day of the week. So this week's average was 236.5, which is a gain of half a pound. Like I said, that puts me half a pound above my starting weight when I began Tirzepatide. Now, there's a likely reason behind it. I began experiencing my first full menstrual cycle since August. I've been in perimenopause since then, and my cycles are now all over the place. I had some spotting last month, but this is the first real cycle in months. That hormonal shift had a huge impact, and I was just constantly hungry. Monday through Wednesday, seriously, I wanted to nosh all day long. As for blood sugar, the news is better. My fasting blood glucose was mostly in the 120s, down from 130s last week. I think my meal choices helped a lot. Breakfast was high hill vanilla unsweetened yogurt with fruit, and lunches were hummus with crackers and carrots, and dinner was my nightshade-free chili, which, by the way, is on my website if you'd like to try it. It's really great. Now, remember last week when I showed you my CGM on my arm? Let's see. It looks a little different this week. It's a different one. The Freestyle Libre 14 day is what I had last week. I had it left over from when I took insulin. Well, that thing didn't even make it through grocery shopping. I noticed it was dangling off my arm when I got home. Probably a glue issue, even though the expiration date was fine. And I didn't have a patch to put on it to cover it. So then I went ahead and ordered the Dexcom G7 from Diabetic Warehouse. My doctor had wrote me a prescription for the, excuse me. My doctor wrote me a prescription for the Freestyle Libre, but I heard, or I've learned through research and other people's opinions, that the Dexcom G7 is more accurate than the Freestyle Libre. So I went ahead and ordered the Dexcom G7 from Diabetic Warehouse. And even though my doctor wrote me a prescription, but since I'm not on insulin, insurance won't cover it. So, you know, there's that. I have to pay for it out of pocket anyway. So the good news is that Diabetic Warehouse sells a month's supply, which is 3 sensors for $399, which is a better deal than most pharmacies when you're paying out of pocket. I have found the Dexcom G7 to be more accurate than the Freestyle Libre based on my past experience, and I love that it can be calibrated. I also love that I don't have to scan it in. It's automatic. It automatically uploads the blood sugar every 5 minutes. So using the Dexcom, I saw no big glucose spikes. I did have a few times where my blood glucose hit the 160s and lingered, but it didn't go over 180 for more than 30 minutes. I think that only happened twice this week. The Dexcom G7 showed my 7-day glucose average as 134, and I was in range 97% of the time, which is pretty darn good. As for energy and mood, there have been no big shifts except what I would chalk up to my cycle. I had one very irritable day, which is very rare for me in the evenings, and in the evenings I found myself ready for bed early. But the irritability was like, it was so massive, and I just felt like I couldn't control it. That was a new experience for me, because usually I can feel irritated and not express that, but I did, unfortunately for my family, I did express the irritation quite verbally. But no damage was done to relationships. So sleep-wise, it was not a great week. In the evenings, I just felt myself that I was ready for bed early. Some nights I got very little rest, only 2 hours one night, and I have no explanation other than hormones. And I want to mention, not getting enough sleep can absolutely impact your blood sugar and throw off other key hormones like cortisol, leptin, ghrelin. All of those can make losing weight much more difficult, even if you're sleeping well and staying active. So sleep really does matter in this journey. Side effects. Side effects this week were mild. Just a little nausea from Thursday to Monday. Like I said, I take my injections on Thursday, mostly in the daytime, and none at night this week, which is definitely an improvement from last week. What helped? Honestly, I think my body is just adjusting to the higher dose now. No changes to my dose this week either. I'm still in the same protocol, which is 6.6 milligrams. Diet and nutrition. So let's talk food. I've noticed I really struggled to get enough water this week, and that may have played a role in my weight gain too, and it may have even played a role in my wanting to snack, although I really think that was hormone related. So this coming week I'm going to be focusing on hydration, just to make sure that I get in enough water. The crackers I had with hummus and even the chili seemed to raise my blood glucose a little. The crackers I had with the hummus and the chili seemed to raise my blood glucose. The crackers I had with the hummus and chili seemed to raise my blood glucose a little bit more than I expected. So I'm keeping an eye on the crackers. I'm like watching how much I ate, and actually I'm not eating any this week. So last week I mentioned I wanted to try calorie cycling with the zigzag method, and I finally started that today. Timing didn't work last week. I planned my meals on Wednesdays and shop on Thursdays, so my menu was already set. This week, I felt tired and a little weaker, so I skipped the weights around my waist, which I've been using the hand and ankle weights that strap together with their Velcro straps around my waist, because I can't handle the weighted vest on my spine when I went for walks. So I left those off this week. I just thought it was more important to be moving than pushing myself this week. I really believe it's tied to both my menses and the sleep disruption, the weakness and the tiredness. As far as motivation to exercise, it's lower this week. I'm not going to lie, but I'm trying to show myself grace. Progress isn't linear, and neither is energy. So how does this week compare to the others? Honestly, it feels like a repeat of the past few weeks, actually the past month. Gaining weight despite doing all the things. It's discouraging, but I'm hanging in there. Now, here's the big update about the medication. If you're using Mochi for your compounded Tirzepatide, you've probably seen the delays. or you're experiencing the delays. They were relying heavily on Equita Pharmacy, which stopped filling prescriptions. Now Mochi is trying to switch over to 2 new pharmacies, but it's a long process. The pharmacies need to enter all the providers into their systems before they can start filling prescriptions. Today was supposed to be the day I started my new prescription, but I still don't have it. Thankfully, a few weeks back, I asked my doctor to give me a prescription for the name brand of Mounjaro just to compare it with the compound. By the way, I didn't notice any differences in how they worked, but that gave me a bit of a cushion. Right now, I have 1 dose of the compound left and 2 lower dose of Mounjaro injections from my doctor, so I'm okay for another couple of weeks, but it's a little nerve-wracking. I do not want to stop the medication and have all the food noise and cravings come back to like it was. I mean, it's it's like when I first took my first injection, it was like I was like, this is how it feels to feel normal, to have a normal relationship with food. So I really don't want to go back to that. So what's next? I'm not sure. I had Mochi set up for a 3-month subscription, but now I'm thinking I may need to schedule a med check with my doctor and get a prescription for the higher dose through Lilly Pharmacy while it's, it's a more affordable, but while I can still take the, while I can still do that through the Lilly Pharmacy, because Lilly Pharmacy does not provide all of the doses in the vials at the reduced price, unfortunately, as of yet. That may change in the future. So after leaving a message in my portal to the Mochi team on the Mochi website, I got this email from them, both in my portal and sent to my personal email. Dear Angela, we want to assure you that we have processed and sent your prescription to Empower, the pharmacy that will be fulfilling your order. Unfortunately, they have not provided access to status updates from their system, and we are actively working to get better tracking in the future. We're committed to providing transparent updates as we navigate these changes. Visit our recent blog post for more details on our fulfillment process and how it may affect you. As we've shared all available information here and in the patient portal, keep in mind that when calling or messaging us, we are unable to provide additional shipping updates. We know that during this transition, your experience has not been up to our usual standard and deeply appreciate your patience. We've already onboarded and trained 25 new support team members this week to help address patient concerns and resolve issues quickly. This unexpected shift has required us to adapt quickly, and we're doing everything we can to address the challenges. Warmly, the Mochi Health Team. I will add a link to their blog in the post below, in the description below, which explains why they're in the process of switching pharmacies, which explains where they're at in the process of switching pharmacies, so you can read it for yourself. I'm not going to regurgitate that here. I will say my confidence in Mochi is hanging by a thread at this point. I'm just really grateful that I had the prescription from my doctor that allowed me to have a little cushion right now, so I'm not without the medicine, because like I said, I don't want to go back to that. What's keeping me motivated right now? Honestly, knowing that I'm doing this for the long-term health. I want to feel better, live longer, and have more energy for the people I love. If you're in a season where progress feels slow or even reversed, I see you. You're not alone. Keep showing up for yourself, even if the scale doesn't reflect your efforts. Your body is still benefiting. So a self-care tip for the week: prioritize sleep. If your sleep is off, everything else, hormones, mood, blood sugar, can suffer. Give yourself permission to rest. That's it for this week's update. I hope you found this helpful or relatable. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss next week's update. I love to hear from you. Comment below with how your week went, or if you have any questions about CGMs, compounded medications, or Mounjaro in general. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. You got this. I'll see you next week.